Hello everybody, welcome to another video on the Constructor Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructor Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. This week we're doing another Wednesday Night Warrior. It's a weekly YouTube series where we talk about Magic. This week we're doing something new. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. This week seems like a great week to do it. It's called Tech Talks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the deck lists that did well over the past week in a given format, of the same deck type, and then talk about the tech inside of the decks and what each player decided to do with each of their deck lists. As you can see here, we're looking at Green-Black Delirium, and today we're going to start with the 5th place list by Kenneth, and kind of talk about his tech that he used in the tournament, and what made his deck stand out from those around him, the other decks that people were deciding to play. One of the first things that we're going to look at here with Kenneth's deck for Green-Black is that he is playing... I'm just going to use my mouse to kind of go highlight some of the things that we're going to talk about. He's playing a 1 of Sinister Concoction, as we see right here, and 2 Vessel of Nacency. So a lot of people are on at least 3 Vessel of Nacency, sometimes 4. He decided that he wanted his other enchantment, to actually be Sinister Concoction. One of the huge reasons to do this is actually to be better against Emrakul. Once you get to the point in the game where you have to worry about Emrakul from your opponent, you can just start leaving up black mana, and most of the value that they get from Emrakul at that point is taken away by Sinister Concoction. And then the matchups where Emrakul doesn't matter, you have this instant speed answer that's really just sitting on the board, easy to use for things like Avacyn, things like that, just threats that are hard to deal with. You have this Delirium enabler to help out your 3-ish Kanans and stuff like that, and really help you out. The other thing that we notice in his list is he is still on Kalidas, not playing something like Mind Direct Demon, which we'll get into a little bit, which means that he wants something like Deadweight in the sideboard. Kenneth's list, is very much doing this great thing, Green-Black Delirium plan, 3 Tireless Trackers, things like that, but the biggest things that you're going to notice are this is going to be the Sinister Concoction in the main deck. Being able to have just a little bit of edge in the mirror when you have Sinister Concoction and Kalidas still, rather than some of the other things that some other players might be playing. Next up we have Brad Nelson's first place deck list. And the tech that you'll notice for Brad, the thing that I think is the most important here is we have 3 Mind Rack Demon, meaning that Brad was very much, trying to gain an edge specifically against blue-white. You already have a little bit of a good blue-white matchup, but Brad was really trying to gain the edge in the blue-white matchup by having this 4/5 that, honestly, if they have to Spell Queller, otherwise they're in big trouble. And then once they do, you just have a Mind Rack Demon underneath the Spell Queller for things like your murders, your removal spells that you have in your deck. To really let you then suddenly have a very hard time for them to get into combat with you, because you have a Mind Rack Demon underneath a Spell Queller. So they not only do they have to do it, but it makes combat for them harder once they've done it. So it really gives you a huge edge against the blue-white deck, and it's something that Brad really emphasized. The next deck that we want to talk about is kind of similar. The first list that we talked about, he is still on the Kalidas, and because of that, he has the main deck Deadweight. So that's the enchantment that he chose to either join him in his battle to get Delirium, besides Vessel of Nacency, and the reason that he chose that one is because he is playing the main deck Kalidas. So both of them, are on the 2 Kalidas, one mana cheap removal spell plan. This one just going a little bit harder against the aggressive decks, trying to get them with Deadweight. So huge mirror breaker there. The other thing that you'll notice is he does have a split there, so he also has the Mind Rack Demon plan going in there, trying to gain an edge that way. When you look at the 5th place deck list, you'll notice that he's on 3 Tireless Trackers, so you can tell that with 3 Tireless Trackers and 2 Kalidas and Sinister Concoction, Kenneth is really trying to win the mirror match, really trying to get an edge against those green-black decks, whereas Eric is doing a lot of hedging, with Mind Rack Demon in the main deck, Deadweight rather than something like Sinister Concoction, still playing Kalidas. He's doing it in a different way. Select your card choices to try and, do things differently. Actually, as we go through the list, we're going to notice closer and closer to a hedge. And then we get to the 4th place list by Grant. When we look at this deck, he has the Deadweight, a Kalidas, a Mind Rack Demon, 2 Tireless Trackers, but he has 2 The Slaughter. He has 4 Vessel of Nacency and 2 Grapple with the Past instead, and then his sideboard is just lots of different effects, similar but different effects to try and give you edges in different matchups once you get to the post-board game playing a real rock-style deck. And this is the real hedge. that we see here. He's really got a lot of one-ofs in his deck, trying to get very minute points, similar effects to what you could be playing, but different enough that you gain different edges in different times. Things like, Vessel being able to grab dead weight. He wanted the full 4 Vessel of Nascency. We see still some two tireless tracker where Brad was so confident that he could win the match that he went all the way down to 1. Then obviously we see 1 Mind Team and 1 Kalidas, really just an even split of the cards, just not really deciding one way or the other where he wants to go, just knowing that he probably wants either one of them, and so he's gonna hedge a little bit there by just playing one of each. The one of sideboard is very interesting here. You'll see that the deck is playing so many different cards post board, but a lot of it's similar effects to things that he already has. When you look at something like Kalidas, he already has a Kalidas. He has. Oh wow. Oh yeah. Okay. I thought for a second he didn't have his first Emrakul in the main. Okay, good. We don't need to panic. So he does have his second Emrakul in the main, his second To the Slaughter, his second Dead Weight to go with his Kalidas that he brings in to give him that little bit of an edge post board against the aggro decks. Just a classic rock deck here. Whereas when you look at something like Brad's deck, we'll go back to, this is a green-black deck that has a plan with the 3 tireless trackers and things like that. One thing that all of these decks have in common that wasn't true a few weeks ago when we look at the tech that people were playing is they're all playing 23 lands. This was not true a little while ago. There was a debate whether 23 or 24 was correct, and the reason that I think that they're all playing 23 instead of 24 is if we look, every single deck list has 2 Pilgrim's Eye. So all 4 of these guys elected to go with 2 Pilgrim's Eye, 24 lands, and that's just the common thread among the decks, is that they are sacrificing spell quality to making Delirium a little bit easier for them by having these 2 one-of creatures, or these two creatures that make Delirium a little bit easier on them by giving them an artifact and a creature a little bit easier. And also goes and grabs in that land so that they can still play the late game and get in their land drops that they want to get with the deck so often. It's hard because you think you want to play 24 lands, play some more trackers, but I think that they've all made the decision that, well, I need to get Delirium a little bit easier. I can do that by cutting a land and just playing the Pilgrim's Eye to get the land that I was missing anyway, and go about it that way. So the tech here is it's subtle differences, but you can see the decision trees that people have, the decision points that people are making. Brad very much wanted to do what he wanted to do. Kenneth very much wanted to do what he wanted to do. These lists are vastly different from each other. You can very much see that Kenneth is trying to win the green-black mirror, and you can very much see that Brad is trying to beat blue-white. And when you go into making those deck decisions, that's important here. And then we have 2 guys that are really trying to hedge there, really trying to get their hedge on, I guess you could say, and both of them also with tons of one-ofs in their sideboard. So that's it for this week. We're just looking at those decks, seeing what's going on there. Green-black is everywhere right now. It's the most popular deck. A lot of people think it's the best deck and the deck that they would choose moving forward. These are just some of the lists that you could look at. All of them are on StarCityGames.com, which is where I grabbed these deck lists from. You go ahead and check them out. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about talking about the different card choices, going into what they might mean. I look forward to doing this more often, but this was a great week to kind of go deep into the decks. The very subtle differences in the main deck specifically is what I wanted to talk about, and what they could be doing to, what the reasons that they could make those choices. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys all next week.